Welcome to Time Management for Small Businesses. And my name is Brenda Gale Bryant. I am an SBDC counselor, which means that I am a business coach for you through the Small Business Administration, the Department of Small Business Development Center. I also am a small business owner. So, one of the things that you will find out about time management is that no matter whether you are the owner of a one person business or a many person business, your time is precious and you need to manage it very, very well. So, our agenda today is just going through some basic techniques on what it is that we need to be looking at when it comes to time management, looking at some really good things that you can do, some tips and techniques that you can do that will allow you to manage your time better. Therefore, if you can manage your time better, you can manage your business better. And if you can manage your time and your business better, you can manage your personal time better. So, welcome. You should have a participant book. And in your participant book, you can follow along with what we're doing. If you have any questions, please ask. There's no problem with that. Just interrupt me, ask your question. If I can answer it, I will. If I'm planning on answering it during the class, I'll tell you that. And if it is not something that is covered in the class, but I can give you a quick answer, I will do that also. So, again, welcome. The objectives for today are that when we finish this time that we have together, that you can explain the concept of time management and why it is important to you as a small business owner. You can explain some of the things that are practices that have actually terminology attached to them, like the Pareto analysis, like the ABC method, like the Eisenhower method, and like the POSEC method. So, right now, those may sound a little strange to you, but by the time we finish, you should be okay. Okay, so time management is systematically prioritizing your tasks and completing demands to complete the most important task in a certain amount of time. Some of you may be note takers, some of you may be list makers, and some of you may sit down at either at the end of the day or the beginning of the day, write out your list of things to do, your to-do list, okay? I call it my top list, okay? TOP, which is thinking on paper. I just try to dump stuff out of my head, put it on paper, and then try to decide what is the most important in terms of when things need to be done and the importance of how it needs to be done. Some things need to be done right away. Some things can be put off. Some things take a long time to get done. Some take just a few moments. So those are the kinds of things that I'm always looking at when it comes to how I do my, as I said, I call it my top programs, my thinking on paper process. Okay. So when you're looking at your time, one of the things that you have to look at is, can you focus? You need to focus when you're working on your time management because it's extremely important that you focus, get it done, move on. If you're constantly getting interruptions, whether they are phone calls, whether they are employees, whether they're colleagues, whether they're clients, if that is constantly happening, it breaks your concentration. And when with time management, you actually do need to concentrate. So let's just think of a couple of things that we can look at when it comes to time management. When you want to when you're thinking about time management, you need to be thinking about prioritizing your tasks, managing your distractions, one of the things that we just talked about, and setting your goals. Now, how does goal setting get involved in time management? You need to have a result that you are trying to get. So if I put on my task list or my priority list or whatever you want to call it, if I put on there that I need to have a report done by a certain day or by a certain time, like maybe I need to have a report to my boss by the end of the workday, then that tells me more about how I set my priorities because it's going to depend on how long that report is, how much information I have to gather, how much work I've already done ahead of time. So that's part of my goal setting is to look at what is the end result and when is that end result due. Also think in terms of with time management that there are different approaches to it. I just told you my approach is I call thinking on paper. Mine is basically a brain dump. I just go through my head or through my papers or whatever it else I have that will tell me what are those things that are important that need to get done. And then I have to decide once I kind of do the brain dump on paper, um, then I have to decide which ones am I going to do first, and that is how I start to prioritize. Okay, so when we're looking at time management, when you don't have it or you don't have a good time management system, that costs you. Now, how does time cost you money? Well, what could if it should take you 30 minutes to do something and it ends up taking you 2 hours because you end up having distractions and you end up doing a lot of other things that break into your time management process, that hour and a half could have been spent working on another project that you now can't work on because you have just lost that hour and a half due to poor time management. You also need to maximize the number of hours that you're going to work in your workday. Please don't be one of those people who starts in the morning and ends the next morning. There are some of us like that around, so don't be one of us, okay? Make sure that you give yourself a beginning time and an ending time. Now, when you are in the office, that's pretty easy to do because you have a time to come in and you have a time to leave. You have a time to take a break. You have a time to go to lunch. When you are working virtually, sometimes that kind of blurs and you sort of don't really take a time to break and you may just go grab something for lunch and then you're sitting at your desk and you're eating and that's not good. So part of your time management is also taking care of you. Work smarter, not harder, within the time constraints of your day. And I'm not, I know that the slide says it's constraints, and I don't really think of them as constraints. I think of them as ways to keep us on track, ways to keep us focused on our work. So it's extremely important that when we are working, we want to do the best job we can do in the least amount of time that gives us the biggest bang for our buck. So that report I was talking about, if I have to have this report to my boss at the end of the day, I have to look at that report. I have to, whenever it came in, I'm going to look at that report. I'm going to see what it entails. Does that entail me spending some time doing some research, et cetera? Or does it mean I've already got the answer? Let me knock this out right now. It's done. It's over. That's no longer on my list of tasks to do. So, what are some of the benefits of time management for a small business? Well, as we just talked about that money thing with small business, honestly, time really is money. So, what you want to think about is how do you use your time in the most efficient way so that it actually is returning the best amount of money to you. So, more business equals more income. But if you are bogged down in other things, or if things are causing you to spend more time on them than you should because you have not managed that time well, that means that maybe some sales are lost, maybe some contacts are lost, that kind of thing. So we don't want that to happen. You also want to be more focused, more organized. Now, some of us are very easily great organization people. I have a friend who is just, you tell her something and it's organized, it's done. You don't even have to worry about it. You tell me about it and I got to think about it. I got to figure out what needs to be done. I got to figure out how to do it. So we're totally different personalities. But does that mean that I am less organized than my friend? No, because I have to think it through. I still can become organized. What happens is it's just not natural to me. So I learn techniques that make it easier for me to be organized. If you are organized and focused, you have less stress. That report that I talked about that's due to the boss at the end of the day. What if I didn't look at that? What if I didn't know that that was available? It was not on my to-do list. It just popped up. Oh my gosh, I got this 2 weeks ago and it's due by the end of the day. And there's so much stuff that needs to go in here. And I've got other things for the day. That's stressful. So that's not what you want to do. You want to see things, you want to look at things when they come through, and you be the person who chooses where this falls on your priority list. And of course, with all of us, we want to spend more time, more personal time, time with family and time with friends. And we can't do that if we don't organize what's going on in our business life. So think of, for yourself, think of ways that you can prioritize, or how do you prioritize already? Think of things that come across your desk. Do they come every day? Do you get the same thing every day? Do you get the same thing every week? Like, is there a weekly meeting that you have to go to? Is there a weekly report that you have to do? Is there something that you do on a monthly basis? Is there something you do on an annual basis? If you have big things, can they be broken down into little things so that when they become due, again, that stress has been removed? So if you have a monthly report that you do, can you do a little of that every day? Or can you do a review to see where you are every week so that when you go to the end of the month, you're not having to go back through 30 days of information. You're only going back through 7 days of information. So you to have a goal, to have a time management goal, which is one of the things that we were talking about. And it's good to have a goal, okay? It's good to have a focus. So if you have a focus on what you're doing, it makes a great amount of difference. So let's look at this and say, well, my goal is I will generate a minimum of $6,000 in sales every month, starting with the month after next. Okay. So that's a sales goal. But that's also a time goal because I have given it a beginning. I'm starting now. I have given it an ending that is going to end every month. I've given it an amount, which is $6,000. And my starting is going to be month after next. Or we're now in the month of October. So maybe we're setting these things up for the new year. We said, okay, starting in January, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. Again, we've given it a beginning time, We've given it a structure, a focus, an ending time. So those kinds of things are extremely important as you sit down and figure out what your next steps are. So key management planning elements are that you need to be very clear when you write your goals. You're writing them for yourself, but you need to be clear on what you're writing for yourself. Make it understandable to you. Make it in the language that you understand. Don't try to impress someone with the goals that you've written. Make sure that they're written in a way that you look at that and go, that makes sense to me. Have a detailed list of tasks. What does it take to reach that goal? Step one, step two, step three, task one, task two, task three, whatever you call it, just make sure that you have a process that you're building that will allow you to get that goal reached. So if my goal is $6,000 monthly sales that I'm going to start in the month of January, what are we going to start doing now so that it becomes a reality? Because just because I said $6,000 doesn't mean it will automatically materialize. So what am I doing now? How is my sales force set up? Do I have enough people? Are they well trained? Do they understand what this goal means? What are they going out to sell? What are the highest selling products that we have? What are the highest price products that we have, etc. You want to prioritize your task. What's most important is what is um, the the method of how you're doing this. What is one? What is two? What is three? And that's something that you actually want to think about because you want to make it easy. Remember, we're going to work smarter, not harder. So we want to make it easy for us to go from step one to step two to step three because it makes sense. It's logical. So we want to have a list of important ongoing business functions and we want to build in flexibility. Have you ever set up something and you said, this is exactly how it's going to be. This is exactly the amount of time it's going to take. This is exactly what I'm going to do at each step. And then once you do that, you go, oh, shucks. This thing came in, that thing came in. I got fluctuation here. I have fluctuation there. Always give yourself some wiggle room. Nothing ever works exactly like you said, but if you don't plan, most times things won't work at all. So we want to make sure that we know what our tasks are, how our tasks work, etc. When you are continuously developing your sales skills, and that's what we were talking about with the goal here we have for the $6,000, we want to make sure that we're keeping our sales team as sharp as it can be. We want to make sure that the sales meetings talk about good sales techniques. We want to talk about customer service. We want to talk about how we not only reach out to our clients, but how we continue to support our clients. Because what we actually want to do from our sales team is we want to make our clients part of our marketing team. We want our clients to go out and say to people, this is such a good company. I recommend it. It is well worth it. And when they do that, people start to come to us. Once they come to us, we want to hold them. But how do we hold them? And so, do we get back to them in a timely manner? Do we get back to them with the information that's necessary? Do we have things in place that the information goes to the right person? Does the right person then be able to handle that correctly? We're talking about, it sounds like a mixture of marketing and sales and time management, but it comes down to time. I can have the most efficient, the best trained sales group. And if they don't know how to manage their time, we're losing contact with customers. We're losing sales with customers because, oh my gosh, I forgot to call this person. Oh, I did. Oh, that fell through the cracks. That's not what you want to hear. What you want to hear and what your customers want to hear is that I'm a priority. I matter. I can trust this company to support me, and I will more than be glad to pay for the products and services they have because of the value and the quality that they put into working with me. So, when you're looking at clearly defined goals, we're also looking at making sure that our goals are set up in such a way that they make sense to us. Goal setting and time management are partners. They work hand in hand. You can't have a goal without time. If you have a goal without time, you've got a wish. And we can't build a strong business on wishes. We build a strong business on activity. Activity has to be wrapped around the time and the kinds of activities that we put into getting things done. So in a business, normally you look at short-term goals are quarterly and less. Midterm goals may be yearly, and long-term goals may be more than a year. For small businesses, especially those that are starting out, I say short-term goals are monthly. I don't have midterm goals. I have quarterly goals. So I have monthly goals, I have quarterly goals, and I have annual goals. And then I have my long term actually is the same as what um, our our slide says. So our long term is over a year. But when you are a small business, you need to be having your finger on the pulse of what's going on in your business a lot more tightly because there are fewer of you. So if you're a one person business, you've got to do it all. If you are a multi person business, you have to be able to delegate and you have to be able to help people reach those goals that they have been given so that everything works together for the good of the company. So, for each task that has to be done, not for each goal, but each task in the goal, what needs to be done? So, these are things that you want to think about. Who needs to do it? When is it due? Where is it being done? Or where is it being delivered? Think in terms of goals don't get done on their own. Somebody has to do them. Again, if you are a business of one, you have to think very, very carefully about this because you're the one who's doing this. Or maybe you look at this and you go, I know what needs to be done. I think I need to outsource this because they can get it better. They can get it done better and faster than I can. So I have a colleague and he has great ideas. He is a coach and he has great ideas and he's able to verbalize those ideas and he loves talking to his clients. He hates doing presentations. That's not his thing. So what he did for part of the task, he had to do a presentation for someone. And he goes, I don't really like to do that. So what he did was he outsourced it to Fiverr. And you guys may know what Fiverr is. It's one of those organizations that has people who can do little tasks for you and they'll tell you how much it will cost to do those. And they're very cost effective. So he sent the outline of the presentation to Fiverr. They did all the slides. And when he did his presentation, he looked like an absolute genius. And so how did he use his time efficiently? He gave something to someone else to do who can do it faster, better, more efficiently than he can, and he could concentrate on something else. Okay. When we look at that report, I was saying this due to the boss at the end of the day, we always, whenever we get an activity that needs to be done or a task that needs to be done, we need to not only look at when the task begins, but we need to keep our eye on when the task is due. What we don't want is what we discussed before. We don't want that level of stress that comes along with, oh my gosh, it's the end of the whatever. It's the end of the month. It's the end of the quarter. It's the end of the week. And I haven't gotten this thing done yet. We want to have that separation between the work that we do and the personal life that we lead. And if we don't get our work done during work time, that has a tendency to bleed over into our personal lives. Even if you don't take the work home with you, you take it home with you in your head. So, as you are looking at how you're going to set up your priorities, you want to look at how you prioritize your tasks. There is a company by the name of Franklin Covey, and they have a whole complete system. Um, it used to be just a calendar system. Now it's a whole big organization system of how you can keep yourself on track. I remember when the company was just Franklin. And so then there's a gentleman by the name of Stephen Covey. You may know of him, who wrote probably his most famous book is highly Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. If you have not had a chance to take a look at that, I would highly recommend you do so. You could probably find a summary or a synopsis of it online. One of the things that they talk about, both of them, both the Franklin system and Covey's book, is how you pull things together so that they move more efficiently through your system, whatever the system is that you have set up. Oh, you don't have a system? Well, part of your system is going to be your time management. Part of your system is what needs to be done, those questions that we talked about before. When do they need to be done? How do they need to be done? Who's going to do them, etc. We need to assign a priority to every task. Not everything is important, but most of the things that are handed to us must be handled in an efficient way. Some of the things that are handed to us can be handled very easily, and they're overdone, they're off our plate. But we don't know that until we go through the system of assigning a priority. One of the things that the Franklin Covey program does is it helps you assign priorities, and they don't do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They do 1A, 2A, or 1A, 1B, 1C, because some things are very high on the priority list, but they have a gradation of how they need to be done. You need to rearrange your tasks so that they fall into that priority, so that you know what needs to be done first, what needs to be done second. Some of us like to do all the easy stuff first. That stuff is out of the way, it's off the table, and now I can concentrate on the big things. Some of us like to do the big things first, get them out of the way, because then the other things become a lot more easy for us to do. What is the process that you use? And you need to think about that. What fits your personality? Okay. And you need to I can't speak. You need to allot the ample time to get things done. If you look at something, you go, oh, that's going to take me 10 minutes. Well, did you look at it close enough to realize that that's probably going to take you an hour? And if you tell yourself it's going to take you 10 minutes, you have now given yourself 50 minutes of frustration. Not necessary. So take the time to look at things carefully so that you know what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how it's going to be done. When we look at the important ongoing business functions, there are things that happen over and over and over again. Like at the very beginning, I talked about things that happen on a daily basis, things that happen on a weekly basis, monthly basis, etc. So think in terms of what are the things that you know that you have to continuously do? How much time does it take you to do that? What part of the day does it fall in? And how can you get it done most effectively? So, daily tasks may be one that I recommend highly for business owners is I check my bank account daily. I want to make sure that nothing has come in or gone out that I don't know about. I want to, especially in this time of fraud and identity theft, I want to make sure that everything that is flowing through my bank account is something that I understand. So I want to do that daily. I have clients that do it more than daily. They do it several times a day. That's okay. That's okay. But I want you to stay on top of your money. You also want to look at the emails that come through. Which ones are the important ones? Which ones are the ones that can be delegated out? Which ones are the ones that you have to take care of right now or you can take care of later? Look at your phone calls. Are these phone calls that need to be returned right away? What is your policy with phone calls? Do you tell people, like one of my colleagues has on her voicemail, please leave a message, please leave your clear name and your phone number twice. I will get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. So she tells them right away, I can't get to you now because many times she's traveling. She may be in another part of the country. And when she gets a call, she may be on stage doing a presentation or whatever. So she gives herself that 24 to 48-hour leeway. What do you need to do so that your clients don't feel like they are being ignored? What kinds of things do you do on a weekly basis? Okay, so maybe you go through and maybe you review your bills that need to be paid on a weekly basis. Maybe you review your invoices to see if they came in and due dates on a weekly basis. So, what are the things that you do every week? What are the things that you do every month? Well, since my specialty is finance, I think one of the things you do every month is you reconcile your bank account. You want to make sure that the bank says the same thing that you say. You maybe pay your bills once a month. Most bills are monthly. Some bills are not. So you need to check your bills as they come through and see what those due dates are so that you can make sure that you are getting those bills paid in a timely manner. What kinds of do you have a monthly meeting in the office? Do you have a weekly meeting in the office? Do you have an organization that you belong to that they do a monthly meeting? So what are the things that you do every month that you need to put into your time schedule? And then you also want to make sure, like I said before, you need to make sure that you have some wiggle room in there. You need to make sure that your timing is not so tight that if something comes up, you've got no room for it. Time management is not a girdle. It is not trying to hold everything in and make it stiff and make it stay in and there's no room for anything else. That's not what time management is. Time management is a technique that allows you to get your work done in the most efficient and effective manner. Whether you're the one who's doing it, whether it is assigned to someone else, whether it is outsourced, it is to allow you to make sure that you get those things done that need to be done. So you always want to have that wiggle room in there. You always want to have that place where you got a call. This was an unexpected call. It needs to be taken care of. You've got some space in there to take care of that call. Allow time to address opportunities and issues as they arise. Allow extra time for critical tasks if needed. Allow time for interruptions. And yes, you will be interrupted. And allow time for breaks. Now, I know that they put that last, but I'm going to say that that's probably the most important one because you need to take the time to breathe. You need to take the time to collect yourself, to get yourself back in order so that you can be the person who is working in the most effective manner. If you are tired, if you are stressed, if you are feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling overburdened, you cannot give your best. So take some breathing time for you. Take those breaks. Remember, when you're in an office, you usually have those breaks built into the day. When you are working virtually, you usually ignore those things and don't ignore them. They are extremely important. Be your best. Make your time management schedule so that you can be the best that you can be at that time. So, this is a thing called SMART goals. And SMART goals are this is how you set up your goals. Okay. So, goals should be specific. That's the S. So, it says exactly what it is that you're looking for, exactly what that goal is supposed to be doing. It needs to be measurable. So we've talked about that in terms of when does it begin? When does it end? Okay. Um, and when we talked about our sales goal, what was our measurement? Our measurement was $6,000 in sales, right? It needs to be attainable. That's a question that you have to ask before you start building whatever that goal is. So if I look back to that sales goal of $6,000, how did I get to that amount? Do I have enough people for that? Do I have enough product for that? Or do I have the service in place for that, et cetera? It needs to be relevant. Is it something that can be done? And is it something that our company handles? Okay, so is it relevant to our business? Is it important to what we do? And does it help our customers? And it needs to be time bound. Okay, time just means that it has a beginning time and it has an ending time. And sometimes our goals have beginning times, ending times, and different times during the goal setting process that we're checking on ourselves. So we may have a goal that's due in a week. Maybe what I need to do from my SMART goal setting is I know that it is due next week, but how much do I need to do today? How much do I need to do tomorrow, et cetera, so that when the goal time comes, I have met it, and I've met it without the extra stress and overwhelm and things that we go through that kind of drive us and those around us totally, totally crazy. So I hope that you have some goals that you've set and think of writing your goals in terms of the SMART format. And let me go back to that so you can see it. And I know it's in your book, but try to think in terms of being very specific. Again, write it in a way that it makes sense to you. That's very specific, that it's measurable, that it is attainable, that it is relevant, and that it has a beginning and ending time frame, and maybe it has some time points in the middle of that time frame to help keep us on track. So when you are writing your SMART goals, you also need to think about, and we've talked about this a little bit before when it comes to our tasks, who's going to do them, what's going to be done, when is it going to happen, where is it going to happen, and why are we doing this, by the way? And so I'll go back to my colleague who's the coach and doesn't like to do the presentation slides and all that. He loves to talk and he has a lot of great information to give. He just doesn't like all the stuff that you have to do around the talk. So he's the one that's doing the talk. what is he doing is a talk, a presentation. He knows the time when it's due. He knows where it's going to be. And he knows why he's doing it because he's trying to help out a group that has hired him to do this coaching program. The thing that he had to think about is, what is it that I like to do? What is it that I do well? And then on the other side of that, what is it I don't like to do? And what is it I don't do well? Which is why he took his outline, sent it to Fiverr. They go, we got you covered. We do this all the time. We know exactly what needs to be done, and we can take care of that for you. And they do. So now, like I said before, he looks like a hero because he comes in, he's got all the great information, and now he's got a set of slides that look fantastic, something that people can follow. And so then he even went one step further and said, wow, if I can do this and they can put this together for me, I'm going to see if they can write a manual for me for my clients to take with them when they leave. They don't need just the slides. They need something concrete, something written that they can go back to that goes into more explanation of what I do. So what he did was he did a presentation. He taped the presentation, had it transcribed, sent that to Fiverr. They turned that transcription into a manual for his clients. And so again, he looks like a genius because he thought of the stuff, but he didn't do the stuff. Okay. And so when you're thinking about your goals and your time and where you can best be used, sometimes your best use of time is not the really tiny, tiny, tiny stuff. Maybe your best use of time is coming up with the concept and then being able to share that concept by delegating out or sending that to an outsource or whatever. So look at your SMART goals, okay? And I'm not stopping for you to do all this stuff right now, but I really do want you to do this. This is in your book. Take time to look at what you wrote and then try to break it down so that it, again, this needs to make sense. In accounting, there is a term called the test of reasonableness, which means, does it make sense? I use that in just about everything that I do, that it may sound good, it may sound maybe today I'm sounding academic or tomorrow I'm sounding this way or that way. That's not the point. The point is, does it make sense? And not only does it need to make sense to me, it needs to make sense to those who are impacted by what I say or do. So as a small business owner, as a business owner anyway, whether small or any other size, you need to make sense to your customers. If you do not speak the language of the customers, you lose them because they can't follow you. They don't understand what you mean. So when you write your goals, write them in such a way that they make sense. If it is a goal that you have to do that meets a customer need, write it so that if the customer were to look at that, it made perfect sense to the customer. So hopefully that's understandable. The communication is such a huge part of what we do. So Pareto analysis is one of the ways that people look at managing their time. So small business owners are juggling stuff all over the place. We know that. Okay. And the key element to making your time management plan work the most efficiently is to figure out what are those things that really get the business moving? What are those things that I have to do that if I don't do them, I would have a major problem? So the Pareto analysis says that 20% of the tasks or a person's efforts will produce 80% of the result. So if I'm doing the big things that have to be done, I don't have to spend a lot of time doing them because I do them over and over and over again. And maybe, like I said, looking at my bank statement, or having a company meeting, or looking at my invoices. Those are things I do over and over again. And the more I do them, the better I get at them. And because I'm getting better at them, I can do them faster, more efficiently. I can make the tweaks that need to be made when something needs to be changed. So, according to Pareto, the tasks that generate the greatest return should be completed first. Where we call it our low hanging fruit. What is our low hanging fruit? Let's take care of that first, because that's going to get done and that's going to bring us in what we're looking for. Okay, so that task that we complete is also going to be the task that brings us the best results. Prioritizing tasks is critically important because small business owners have to juggle. And like I said earlier, if you're a business of one or you're a business of many, you're still in the same place. These things still have to be done, and you still have to figure out how to do them most efficiently. If you are in a business of many, you want to be teaching the efficiency to those who work within your company. If you are in a business of one, you have to be very good at being the efficient person. So let me stop here for a moment. I've been talking for a long time and I've given you a lot of information so far. I'd like to know from you if you would like to share anything that you've gotten so far.
This is Diane Hale, Best in the West Safety.
Hi, Diane.
Hello there. I've been typing down a lot of what you've been saying, and yes, I did get the handout. I realize that even though I've been trained on what I need to do on the SMART goals, I have let it slide, and that's going to be the focus of our meeting with my workers this Friday, because I think that's going to give them a little bit more structure, because the feedback I keep getting is we're all over the place. You know, a client calls and suddenly we drop everything. And I thought, you know what? I need to make a list of what is the priority so that they don't feel like they're just all over the place trying to put out fires. Instead, client should be priority number one. So kind of help clarify, how do I bring that to the attention of my workers? And they're always wanting to clean or straighten up everything. And I'm like, the clients, when they come, they don't care if all the respirators are listed out or if they're all neat. They just want the service and, of course, clean bathrooms. And so I think that first part helped me to be able to communicate that to my workers so that they know, okay, cleaning is important, but we do that at the end of the day. We don't do it at the beginning of the day, and always before we leave.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I had not thought of it in the terms that you just gave. And putting the customer first means that we rearrange our day in such a way that if the customer is no longer an interruption, the customer is what we're looking for.
Right. I mean, they are the interruption. I get calls at like 10 a.m. Hey, I need to have a respirator fit test. And they will go to somebody else if it can't be done today.
Okay.
I don't want to lose that money. And when we allow them just to come over and drop in, and we do have everything in place for them, so it's not a big deal to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They are so grateful, and I find that it does bring in more clients.
Yes. Good for you. Congratulations. I'd love to hear how your meeting turns out.
Well, if you put in chat your email, I'll let you know.
The chamber has all my information. They'll be glad to give it to you. Not a problem at all. Anybody else? Thank you, Diane. I'll go on with what we were talking about, and we just talked about the Pareto analysis, which is looking for our low hanging fruit. And then the ABC method is just pretty much your to do list. Okay, setting up your to do list. And instead of doing one, two, three, they do ABC. Okay, so A is the most important thing that's on your list. Then B is down the list a bit, and C is the least important. There are also some other methods out there that you might like, but you need to find what works best for you. Some people like letters, some people like numbers, some people don't want any letters or numbers at all. But what you want to think about in your methodology and in your prioritizing is make sure that you're comfortable with what's most important, and make sure that you're comfortable with what's least important, because that can cause you an issue from the fact that you don't think that's very important, but does your customer think that's very important? Is there a way to handle that easily so that the customer feels that he or she has been well taken care of, and you're going, ugh, have to do this again? Well, yes, you do. So, one of the things that I do with time management is I do a best practices for myself in my position. So I put in what are the things that are important for me to get my stuff done and to meet the needs of my clientele. So when I meet with them, what do we talk about? When I'm talking to them over the phone, how do we handle that? If I'm going to their actual premises, how what am I looking for? If they have little things that pop up, let me slide some time in there. That, remember we talked about that flexibility. Let me have enough flexibility that I can handle those pieces. They feel like they're getting top notch customer service, which is exactly what I want them to feel like, and they don't feel like I've dropped them off or they fell between the cracks or whatever. So this is a method that you can use. It's a very simple method. I'm all for simple. I'm looking for simple and easy. I don't like complicated. It makes my head hurt. So find something that fits into your personality and into what the company is has said that it will offer to its clients, because that's the most important thing. Without customers, we don't have money. Without money, we don't have a business. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're working in such a way that it makes sense to all of us. And this is an interesting one. When I first started teaching time management, I did not know this was called the Eisenhower method, because I was introduced to this by Stephen Covey. Okay, and so what it says is that you have four quadrants. And in those quadrants, your day is made up of stuff that is important, and stuff that is urgent, and stuff that is not important, and stuff that is not urgent. Okay. So this quadrant says that this is urgent and important, and this is the quadrant you want to stay out of. This is what I call the stress quadrant. Oh my gosh, I have to have this done. This report is due by the end of the day. I've got like a half an hour to get this thing done. I'm stressed. I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what I don't even know where to start. I can't even think straight. This is my crisis quadrant. So whatever you do, you never want to be here. Now, this quadrant is my, oh, well, I'm kind of taking it easy quadrant, because what I'm doing is neither urgent or important. So maybe I'm going through my files, purging some files. Maybe I'm taking care of some of those emails that are just maybe get acquainted emails, or, oh, here's something that I need to put on my calendar. So it's not urgent and it's not important. See how totally opposite these are? This is almost like what one of my clients calls this the lazy quadrant. This is the stuff that I do when everything else is taken care of. I can sit back and relax. And now I can take care of these little things that are just sticking there. But the reason I want to take care of this quadrant is that I don't ever want stuff that's in here to move out of here. I don't want it to become important and I don't want it to become urgent. This quadrant is stuff that is very urgent, but it's not very important. So, what do we have that's urgent but not important? Well, it may be urgent to my customer, but it's not really that important to get done. But yes, now let's go on and get it done. Make sure that the customer is happy, and then we can move on. This quadrant is very important, but it's not that urgent. This is the place where we want to work. This is the place where we want to look at what are the things that need to be done. We have the time to get them done. That's the whole point of that urgency. We have the time to get them done. So when we're looking in this quadrant, this is the one we want to work in. This is the one we don't want to work in. So we want to work in the important quadrant. We don't want to work in the urgent and important quadrant. So hopefully that will help you. And again, I didn't know it was Eisenhower who came up with this. I had given all the credit to Stephen Covey. I guess I have to take it back now. So this is the one that I probably like the most because it helps me to go through and really analyze what's put in front of me and see where it falls. And I'm hoping every day that I have nothing that is both urgent and important, because then that means I've got to stop everything and then I've got to do just that. Okay, so as we look at the I call there's they call it POSEC. I call it POSEC, but that's okay. That's just me. But it does the same thing as your SMART goals. So when we're looking at prioritizing, arrange your task in the order of importance based on your goals. Okay. And so you're looking at, when you prioritize, you're looking at two things. You're looking at your goals, what's that ultimate result that you want to get? And you're looking at your time factor. How much is it going to take me? How much time is it going to take me to get this done? And then the O is for organizing. So I want to have a structure built that allows me to handle my basic tasks and get things done in a timely manner. So if there are things that I have to do on a daily basis, then I want to have things set up so that that daily basis is very easy for me. And again, I'm not moving into that stress area. And so streamlining, which I call that when we looked at those four little quadrants, I looked at that as the not urgent, not important stuff. In this model, they look at this as what they call the nuisance tasks, okay, such as tasks that are required for operations, but that are your least preferred tasks. Well, I look at that a little bit differently. You may not prefer to do that, but they still need to be done. Okay, so you want to make sure, again, that you're setting things up in such a way that it's a logical movement from one task to another, makes sense for you, and you have some wiggle room in there in case you have some interruptions. Economizing is to achieve those things that you'd like to do, but they fall low on your list of priorities. So this is what I look at: the non-urgent, the non-important tasks, but they still need to get done. Okay. Because if you don't do them, they may end up having to go up here and get prioritized. And so let's get them taken care of. And then the contributing is tasks that are completed, you're able to give back. So you get that done and you can move on. And that's that magic check mark that you put beside a task. That check mark is so powerful because that check mark says, I have this completed. And once I have that completed, it's off my plate. Now let me go see what else I need to do. That is such a good feeling. So when you are looking at managing your time, think about prioritizing your list of tasks, at making sure that you've got the time there to get them done. Don't forget what's important. Look for the low hanging fruit. Try to get that done first because that's kind of the stuff that, oh, done, gone, move, I can move on. But what is your personality? Are you the person that wants to tackle the big stuff first, or you want to tackle the little stuff first? I don't honestly know that there is a right or wrong way to do. I think it's based on where your energy lies. But as long as you get all of it done, that's the important thing. Whether you're doing the big stuff first and the little stuff last, or you're doing the little stuff first and the big stuff last, as long as it all gets done. So, of these different methods that we have looked at, you can decide which method works best for you, or you can come up with your own method. Because you may have a method that may be a combination of several things. I use the what they call the Eisenhower method, but I use it more like how Stephen Covey put it together. And I do it for when I'm teaching classes, for my learning process, how I go back and check on my students. I use it for how I run my business. So trying to make sure that I stay out of that crisis mode, that I stay out of that stressful mode. And the more that I can see how I've gotten things done, that magic check mark for some people is just perfect because they look at the list and, oh my goodness, I have 20 things on my list. But some of those are so easy to do that they may have 10 of those things done in the first hour. It's just that they wanted to make sure that those things were on the list so that they would not forget them. Okay. So when you are looking at your time management, know the numbers of hours in your workday and allocate 75% of that time because you need to have that flexibility. You need to have the ability to have interruptions because you will. You need to have the ability for things that take a little longer than expected because they will happen. So never, ever plan for 100% of your time. They say 75%. I actually say 60%. That I plan for 60% of my time that is planned and structured, and the other is for the flexibility. And if I can get other things done and things pop up, I'm great. I've gotten done what I need to get done. So find out what works best for you. When you are working your plan, there are different things that you can do. Now, there is an organization of, and I can't remember the name of the organization, but there are people whose jobs are organizers. They are organizers, and there is an organization of organizers. One of my friends is one of those organization people, and she is a part of that trade organization. And so I'm really kind of not the best at this, at staying on task. So what she did was she told me, she got me this cute little um, kitchen timer that looks like a little chef, and you turn it, and then when the time is up, not only does the buzzer go off, but there's like a little red dot in the middle of the chef's cap that kind of bounces on and off. So she, because I have a tendency when I'm in front of the computer to stay there, she set it up so that I can only work 50 minutes at a time. And then for 10 minutes, I have to get up and go do something. Get up and walk around, get up and go get some water, whatever it is, just get up and do something, but pull yourself away from the computer. My eye doctor likes her because he said that's excellent because you shouldn't be staring at a screen all day long. So I have this little timer. It's set for 50 minutes. And at the end of 50 minutes, it goes off and does this little thingy. And so that tells me that it's time for me to pull away from what I'm working on and then go get some water or whatever. Um, and then for, like I said before, some people want to work on the big tasks first. Big tasks are not always the high priority tasks. So you always want to make sure that you put the high priority first. Okay, so some high priority things are small and some high priority things are large. That's what you're looking at when you're prioritizing your day, your tasks, etc. You want to always make sure that you have time for your business. So that should be built into your day. That's one of those priorities that you have, is managing your business. I can't think of a more important priority that you have than manage your business. Okay. Take time for yourself. Take time to take breaks. It's easier to do in an office than it is for many people who are working virtually. But force yourself to take breaks. Like my friend gave me the cute little timer thing, and she says to me, you have to stop every hour. You have to stop every hour, get up, move around, get the blood circulating. If you want to do some stretches, get some water, go to the bathroom, whatever it is. Maybe you want to go get a snack, okay? Whatever it is, take that time, give your body and your mind time to recover. And then when you sit down to start on your task again, you are more refreshed. And then set aside time to prioritize for your next week. So, this thing that she taught me was that on Monday mornings, the um, until lunchtime, she is in her office and she's doing nothing but working on stuff for the week, getting things set up. Maybe it's making phone calls, maybe it's finalizing places where she's going, etc. And then in the afternoon, she can actually have appointments. So she'll meet with clients in the afternoon, but never on Monday morning. Then she does her work during the week. And then on Friday afternoon, it's that time to prioritize for the next week. So it's looking at what the dates have been set up, what are the things that need to be completed for that, have they been done, putting the finishing touches on anything that happened this week, and making sure that next week is going to be easier to get through because we have planned, we have prioritized, and we have completed specific tasks. So I have to tell you, I tried that. It didn't work for me. Okay. And it didn't work for me because 4 hours in the morning on Monday and 4 hours in the afternoon on Friday were not enough time. So I made mine so that all day Friday is not a day where I meet with clients. So I'll meet with clients during the week. I will not meet with clients on Friday, because Friday for me is, let's make sure everything that was done during the week has been completed. Were there any obligations that I had to clients? Did I get them met, or do I need to take care of them right now? So that gives me the time to make sure that week is completed. It also gives me the wiggle room for, if something comes in that is extremely important, I can grab it on Friday, because Friday I've got the time in there to actually do it. So thinking in terms of prioritizing your tasks, think in terms of what kind of business you're in, what kind of customers you have, and what is your personality, what works best for you. So I've been blessed to be around people who are very good at this. And a lot of the stuff that they tell me doesn't work for me, but most of the stuff they tell me, I've chosen to pull a few pieces out that make it work for me, that I can put those pieces together. It fits my personality. And then now I said, oh, okay, well, this part came from this person and this part came from this person, but now it's mine because they gave me the ideas that allow me then to be at my best. That's what I hope for you as we go through this program, is that this allows you to be at your best. You don't have to do everything that's here. It would drive you crazy if you did, but it will help you try to put pieces in place that make sense for you. So, when you're looking at assigning tasks and delegating roles and responsibilities, if you are a business of one, your assigned tasks are to you. And if you are a business of one, you may want to outsource some of this versus try to do it all yourself. If you are a business of many, you need to know your people and their strengths and weaknesses well enough to know who can take on this task, or how much training do you need to give them so that they are ready to take on this task? How much support do they need when you pass this on to them? So you may pass it on to Mary, and Mary's got a really good capture of one piece of that. But the other two pieces you need to be there to support, because as you support, Mary learns. And then it'll come to a time where you can pass that particular task over, and all you have to do is just oversee it. So that's what you're looking for in terms of assigning and delegating the roles and responsibilities. But what you need to know is, what are the tasks that need to be passed? What are you looking for the result of that task? And who would be the best person to hand that task to? So we are reviewing. So we want to look at, we need to have some kind of a time management and task plan. What do we do on a daily basis that needs to be done? What do we do on a weekly basis, monthly basis, annual basis? I throw in quarterly because I don't like to wait until the end of the year to go back and look at things. I actually want to be able to look at them on a quarterly basis before they get too far out of whack, if they are. Or if they're being done very well, I want to be able to say to the people who've helped me get them done very well how much I appreciate the hard work that they are doing, and these are the results of the hard work that they're doing, so that people know that what they're doing makes sense, and that what they're doing has an impact, a positive impact on our business as a whole. So if you're looking at daily, look at the tasks that need to be completed, and you can check them off, that magic check mark. You can check them off of your list. Understand that critical tasks may not get done in your spare time, so allow the time to complete these tasks first. If you have something that's critical, take care of that right away, because you don't want to get into that quadrant where things are urgent and important. That is what I call the overwhelm or the crisis quadrant. And that's what you want every day. You want to stay out of that quadrant. Okay. So make sure that you have some time each day to review what you've done. Some people like to review at the beginning of the day. These are the things that I need to do. This is what I got done yesterday. This is what's left for today. These are the things that I need to add to today's list. Some people do that at the end of the day. These are the things that I got done for the day. These are the things I'm carrying over to tomorrow. And here's some other things that are going to be on tomorrow's list. Find out whether you would rather do that in the morning or the evening. The point is, do it. It needs to be done. So you choose morning or evening, but make sure it gets done. On a weekly basis, you're looking at um, what happens during that week. That, again, this is review. What's happened during that week that you have to get done? Did you get it done? Was it done efficiently, effectively? What was the outcome of whatever that thing was? For instance, um, if you send out invoices every week instead of after every task, Then review those weekly invoices. That did they go out? You can't get money from people that you don't tell them that they owe you. So you have to get those invoices out. So is that a weekly task that you do? You have bills that need to be paid. Is that something that you look at on a weekly basis to see where you are when the bills are due, etc.? Okay. If you are looking at things on a weekly basis, is it something that should continue to be weekly? Is it something that should be daily? Is it something that can be bumped up to monthly? So we're always trying to make sure that we have things in their proper perspective. Your weekly, your weekly time management plans can become monthly because as they accumulate, you want to get the end of the month. Let's review for the whole month. Let's see what has been done. Did I reach my monthly goals? And if I reached my monthly goals, then I want to make sure that everybody in the office who was a part of that gets congratulated for making that happen. And also for the, as I said, I throw in quarterly. I do the same thing on quarterly goals. I want to make sure that we are up to date. So we just finished September. So I'm reviewing everything that we did from July, August, and September. And I want to be able to say to the people in my company, thank you very much. These are the goals that we had. This is what was met. If we came in on goals, fantastic. If we were ahead of our goals, wonderful. If we are below our goals, let's talk about what happened and how we can make that not happen for this next quarter. And then from a yearly standpoint, we're always looking at reviewing the year. Now, most of us will do a yearly thing because we have taxes that are due. So not only are we looking at the money part of it, but we're looking at how we're going to prepare for the next year. We're looking at, the people that we have, the tasks, the customers, et cetera. So we do that. We probably do that more on a yearly basis, but think about breaking that down into daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly tasks. So the four key things to, oh, I'm sorry, I missed one. I'm sorry. Common distractions. Oh, I don't even know why I need to tell you this because you probably already know this, don't you? That people who walk into your office and interrupt you when you're busy, they don't know you're busy. They know that they have something that's important to them, and there they are. So, how do you handle that? How do you handle people who walk in? How do you handle those phone calls that come in and you pick up the phone and it becomes a problem that you have to solve? How do you handle those meetings that you have to go to? You may be a person who loves to go to meetings. You also may be a person who hates to go to meetings. Truthfully, the meetings don't change whether you like them or don't like them. So how do you handle that? How do you handle that whole process? How emails is a big one. Voicemails and emails are probably the two biggest distractions that people have because it's difficult to figure out how to do this effectively. Now, there's some very good programs that are out there. Some are at no cost, and some are that you pay for on how to do time management with your emails and how to do time management with your voicemails. But most of it's going to be most out there now are going to be emails and texting. How do you handle those things? Because it's urgent to the person who sent it, but it may not be urgent to you. So how do you build that balance in? And in within your work environment, is it conducive to having a place where you can do your work and focus? Or is it conducive to a place where people can come and interrupt you whenever they feel like it? So if you have a place that is really open and people can come and interrupt you as they feel like it, then you're going to have to set the ground rules with the people around you so that they understand how you work and when you need to work. So when I was working for a large corporation, um, And we didn't have offices, we had cubicles. And so my work schedule changed because I decided, as a crazy person, to go to grad school. And so that means that I don't stay late at work, I don't come in early at work, and my evenings are filled with, oh my gosh, I've got to study again stuff, right? So I sat down with my boss and I said, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to handle things. I take no phone calls until after lunch. And that means that anything that comes in on Monday afternoon, I make sure that it is completed either Monday afternoon or Tuesday morning because I'm taking no phone calls until after lunch. That stuff is all taken care of. I will call the client. I can make phone calls out. I will not take phone calls in because I need that work time. And he said, if you think you can do it and I don't get any complaints, I'll watch. We'll see. Okay. So the only complaint I got was from the person who was answering the phone, who would say, "Oh yeah, she's here. I can see her." And I would not pick up the phone. I had told her over and over again, I don't take phone calls until after lunch. That only had to happen a few times, and she'd get embarrassed that she finally would tell people, I will take a message. She will get back to you this afternoon. Once we got that straightened out, it was very easy. Those obstacles that were coming in, and they were obstacles and distractions to me. They were not obstacles and distractions to the customers, but they were to me. So once I got that method straightened out, my customers knew what I do. They knew when they could call me. They also knew that if there was a message that was left, it would be answered the next morning. So once I had that system in place, we were fine. So what you need to do is, that was a long-winded way to say, what you need to do is to find a system that works for you and works for your customers so that you are both comfortable with that system that you have set up. When you tell customers that these are the parameters I have set, or you tell your coworkers these are the parameters that I have set, and you live by those parameters, people will respect them and they will try to help you stay within those parameters because they see that you're trying to get stuff done in an efficient manner. So, of all the things that we have talked about today, the things that you want to think about are those 5 elements of good time management in the plan. So, you want to have things that are clearly defined, written plans, and make sure that they make sense to you. You want a detailed list of your tasks. You want to prioritize your tasks, okay, so that you know what comes first, what comes second, and always as you're doing that, look at what the task is, look at what is asked of you, look at the time you have allotted, and look at your personality. What works best for you? Are you a high energy morning person, or are you a high energy afternoon person? And also make a list of the important functions, the things that you do all the time within the business, and then give yourself that flexibility, what I call that wiggle room, because stuff is going to happen. The our our slides were telling us that do that for 75% and give yourself 25% for flexibility. Because of who I am, I do 60/40. Find what works for you. Also, use your SMART goals. Remember, those SMART goals are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. So use that as a way to clarify what you're going to do and to help you stay focused on the job that you're getting done. The 4 ways to prioritize goals in writing for your time management. We talked about 4 different methods: the Pareto method, the ABC method, the Eisenhower method, or what I keep calling the Covey method, and the Pozak method. Okay. So looking at making sure that with Pareto, he says it's the 20-40 rule. 20% of the people will get 40% of your work done. If you're one person, probably 20% of your list will give you 80% of the return. If the ABC method is prioritizing 1, 2, 3, or ABC, whatever makes sense to you, but putting them in some kind of chronological order so that you know what you're working on and why. The Eisenhower method is picking those things that you got a choice between urgent and important. Some things are neither. What you don't want to be is in a place where something is both urgent and important. That's what I call the crisis quadrant. And then the Prozac method is the prioritizing and setting all that up so that it makes sense to you. Okay, organizing um, and the things that you're looking at is what fits into not only my schedule, but what fits into my work world and what fits into the industry that I'm in and what fits into the clientele that I have. So, lot of stuff, lot of talk from me. So let me open it up to, do you have any questions or comments?
Brenda, this is Diane again. I don't have any
Mhm.
questions. Great information. I wanted to thank you, but I have to jump on to another Teams meeting.
Okay.
And I will be rewatching this because I did have an interruption for an employee who usually is not at the office. So I apologize if I left,
Not a problem.
but that recording will be very helpful. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Anyone else? Okay, so I'm going to take that as that um, we are finished. And I want you to think about these concepts and choose what works best for you or what combination works best for you. But the most important thing is choose something that you will use. It's important that you put this together and so that it makes sense to you. But nothing is going to work if you don't put it in place. So it's your job to put this time management idea from an idea into an activity and from an activity into the result that you want. So thank you all very much. I greatly appreciate your time. And I'm glad that you were able to come join us today for time management. I hope this has been very important to you. If you have any questions or if you want to reach me, please check with the Urban Chamber. They have my information and they will gladly share it with you. Thank you very much. Bye.